responsibility and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, it is 1 week from primary election day right here in the great state of Wisconsin.
I can't wait.
Yeah, me either.
For it to be over.
Exactly. But then it gears up for a general election. It never stops. The beat goes on. And the beat goes on right here, Dom. In the 4 o'clock hour, we've got a tremendously bigly announcement to make.
Oh, you big tease. That's like an hour from now.
About the future of Resistance Radio. You're going to want to stick around. You're going to want to tune in. I mean, if you're listening right now, I assume you're going to stick around for an hour. It will be bigly. And in the 5 o'clock hour, Dom, we're going to have a bigly guest join us. James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, going to give us the latest on Manafort. The fixer Cohen, I understand he's now being accused of what? Tax fraud.
Coming from this crowd, I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
Well, the tax fraud may not be the worst part. It may be the fact they can, put his cojones in a vice and turn up the heat. And perhaps he will flip like Flipper on the president.
There's lots to discuss. I can't wait. I love it when Jim comes around. Is he calling in or coming
I
in?
believe he's a caller.
All right, we'll still
in
take
the 5 o'clock hour. Yeah, still be happy up here in the happy hour. Big announcement next hour. But Tom, yesterday, I got to tell you, I was a little off my game. It may not have been the greatest radio show ever yesterday.
Oh, come on. What are you talking about?
I didn't say it was your fault. I just said I was off my game. I was beat up. I was tired. I was exhausted. And today I'm feeling a little better.
Crudy, that was yesterday's show. We don't even have to talk about it.
Well, let's not. But I do want to honor one promise I made during yesterday's, fair to middling big show.
B plus.
Promised. We didn't do our jobs properly, and I got to apologize to the entire audience.
We do wear a lot of hats. We're pulled in lots of different directions. Lots of news going on, Crudy, but I kind of agree. We left a little something off the table.
So today, to make up for yesterday's omission, double down Walker bashing.
Yes, we cannot wait. Hashtag Walker bashing. What do you want to start with?
Well, let's start from the headline. Scott Walker sees no value in visiting state prisons as he hits Democrats' promise to slash the number of inmates. Let me read the first paragraph as well. Mary Spacuzza, Patrick Marley, and then I got a little comment. Governor Scott Walker said Tuesday he sees no value in visiting Wisconsin prisons that he runs and that cost taxpayers more than $1 billion a year. And Crudy's little aside. I see no value in Scott Walker. Are you
zero?
Freaking kidding me? I mean, I hope this is not sincere.
No, I think what he means is that he's actually saving us from further liability.
I think what he means is he doesn't want to have any sort of bad political optics because he's already an endangered species as the governor of the state of Wisconsin. Not a popular governor. And if you believe the more recent polling, Tony Evers kind of smacking his ass right now.
Scott Walker, not the education governor. Scott Walker, the prison governor?
Well, it doesn't want that optic either. Scott Walker, the corporate welfare governor, Don.
Oh, thank you. There we go.
Let's get back to the Spacuzza Marley piece. He made the comment at a news conference where he took a swipe at Democrats who have proposed cutting the prison population in half. As Governor Walker has not yet visited, let me repeat that. As governor, Walker has not yet visited any of the correctional facilities he oversees, even as the state's juvenile lockup became the subject of a long-running FBI probe.
Long-running, still running.
Into prisoner abuse and child neglect. And let's not forget, massive settlements, massive loss in the courts to the ACLU and plaintiffs.
Now, would we know if the FBI wrapped up this investigation without any charges? Would we?
We might see a modest statement, investigation closed. Unless Joe Comey was still in charge. Then we'd have a news conference about it. In 2016, because, let me see here. He said he hadn't
done so.
In 2016, I'm sorry, they've got a hyperlink here. I was confused. In 2016, he said he hadn't done so because visitors only see what those running the prisons want them to see.
Visitors?
He said Tuesday he had no plans to visit any prisons. No, to me, there's no value to me visiting, Walker said. To me, there's people that we hire to run the correction system and certainly will allow them to do their jobs.
Oh, but he's so quick to get involved with that other organization. I don't know, the WEDC, when they hand out all sorts of corporate money.
You know who else has handed out corporate money to Scott Walker, or at least campaign contributions?
The private prison.
Yeah, CCA, the private prison industry. That's one other thing we've neglected to do, Dom. You know who else CCA has also had ties to? Russia. They want to help Russia privatize the prisons like they've done here for the great United States of America. And Scott Walker, let's not forget, failed presidential candidate Scott Walker, spy friend having Maria Butina Walker, CCA campaign contribution, truth in sentencing Scott Walker. Scott Walker, to many, many degrees, literally has created the prison overcrowding problem in the state of Wisconsin. I won't say single-handedly, but he was the lead legislator on truth in sentencing. And he got paid by the private prison industry, you know, the same ones linked to Russia.
And now with a budget of $1 billion for the prisons.
It's $2.6 billion over a biennium. It's like $1.3 billion per annum. Per year.
And Walker can't find it,
There's no value.
The energy, the care to perhaps go and make sure, give it the once over. You're not going to do that, but you'll stand up with your corporate welfare guys all day long. Let's continue.
What is the value to incarcerating human beings, especially nonviolent offenders, and to take snarky cracks at the Democrats that might suggest we don't want to incarcerate nonviolent human beings in our prisons?
Man, prisoners, if they're charged, if they're convicted of a felony, perhaps they can't vote at least for a while. And what are the chances of them actually giving him any sort of campaign contribution?
And you know what else?
There is truly no value for the political man that is Governor Scott Walker in going to these prisons unless you care about, I don't know, humanity and budgeting.
Small issues.
Pandora Labatz, a teacher who was beaten at a juvenile prison last year, said Walker's approach wasn't working because she believed he had not put a good people in charge of the Department of Corrections. He would learn about understaffing and other problems if he would visit the state prisons, she said. As a governor, you have to have for the lack of a better word, the balls to walk into these institutions and be able to face these line staff and listen to what needs to be done. Let's take another pause for a moment here, Crudy, and think about that for a minute. How do you think he'd be received in these prisons when you have guards that are working ungodly amounts of hours and overtime because of the terrible understaffing? And of course, they took away any sense of collective bargaining that these folks may once have had with his Act 10. So he not very popular around those parts.
He claims he hired people so he didn't have to get his hands dirty, Dom. That's another guy's job. I don't go there. It's dirty. Those are the primarily black people, but please continue.
Labatz has been asking to speak with Walker about prison problems since she was beaten by an inmate in October. He has declined to do so because of concerns about litigation. Anything he doesn't want to deal with, he ignores. Walker's main focus Tuesday was to criticize Democrats seeking to challenge him over their support for cutting the population of about 23,500 adult inmates. When it comes to violent criminals, I want to keep them in prison for their full terms, Walker said at a news conference at the Milwaukee Police Association headquarters. Democrats have said cutting the prison population would save taxpayer money and make the state more just. We have the highest African-American incarceration in the country, Democrat Mahlon Mitchell said. If we don't see it as a problem, then that in and of itself is another problem.
I've got a headline here, Dom. Scott Walker cannot defend his racist corrections disaster. Our friend's press release, One Wisconsin Now. I know Fancy Brian interviewed someone from that organization today, but I also want to jump in on this presser. On corrections, Walker always makes the wrong decision and always for the wrong reason. One Wisconsin Now Executive Director Scott Ross released the following statement about Governor Walker's disastrous record on corrections in Wisconsin. Walker, who was first elected in 1993, is returning to Milwaukee today to talk about prisons to stroke racial division in hopes of getting 4 more years in office. His turn to negative campaigning comes after recent public opinion polls have found the electoral prospects grim, despite $3 million in television advertising spent on his behalf since May. On corrections, this is a quote, on corrections, Scott Walker always makes the wrong decision and always for the wrong reason. Governor Scott Walker has spent 25 years charting a dangerous, racist course on corrections policy in the state of Wisconsin, singularly serving as the politician most responsible for the catastrophe the adult and juvenile incarcerations have become. In the 1990s, newly elected Scott Walker was the lead soldier in the assembly for the explosion of corrections spending. As governor, his budget spends more on prisons than universities. As a candidate, Walker seeks to defend his policies by peddling racism and fear. And according to the One Wisconsin Now presser, Dom, here are a few of the bullet points. Walker's responsibility for the current corrections nightmare include: did nothing as juveniles were abused, assaulted, and tortured at Lincoln Hills and Copper Lake. As chairman of the Corrections Committee, presided over policies that emphasized locking people up instead of helping them get an education, overseeing a corrections department budget that for the first time ever topped $1 billion. Scott Walker supporting draconian truth in sentencing legislation that is not only racially biased, but also structurally unsound. Scott Walker taking political contributions from the private prison industry. Scott Walker attacking the ability of correction officers to negotiate for workplace safety. Scott Walker refuses to issue a single pardon because he's afraid it would hurt him politically.
Not one single pardon.
Never. Scott Walker supporting draconian sentences for low-level drug offenders for almost his entire career that unfairly targeted African Americans until the white people began having issues with opioids. Scott Walker refused to condemn or even comment on Donald Trump's baby jails. A full accounting of Scott Walker's 25-year record in corrections. On corrections, he should be in corrections. Available at One Wisconsin's Now Warehouse of Research, the Scott Walker Failure Files. Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. We failed to properly lambaste this god-awful SOB inhumane governor of the state of Wisconsin, and we will do better. We're doubling down. More Walker bashing to come right here on the Devil's Advocates Resistance Radio. It feels like a Tuesday. Let's make it a great one. Come back with us, moving the Devil's Advocates forward.
Just a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I long to stay.
$100 billion.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that? Freedom.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
James Santelle, he's a former U.S. attorney. He's our guest live on Brady.
Once again, a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, to talk about the latest news breaking as we speak.
The FBI raided Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, but once they got there, then they went back and got a more thorough warrant and said, we'll take everything.
My first reaction is you need to teach criminal constitutional law. You've got it just right in terms of the process.
They are kind of a big deal.
This is a really big deal.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Also streaming live on the YouTube and Facebook pages. Check it out. On Twitter at Devil Radio, the party line, talk or text. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, big announcement in the 4 o'clock hour. Big guest in the 5 o'clock hour. James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, gonna talk a little Manafort, a little Fixer Cohen's new tax fraud problem. And of course, the president's got a little obstruction of justice problem.
Allegedly.
I can't wait till the happy hour. I'm happy already, Dom. Before we move on, and we are going to do more Walker bashing today, doubling down, if you will. That'll come soon. But let's not forget to properly kick this guy in the nards. I mean, are you kidding me? The preacher's kid.
Right.
Preacher's kid.
Yeah, yes.
Has been taking money from the private prison industry his entire legislative life, his entire gubernatorial. Scott Walker, I would hope. I mean, this guy has literally committed criminal acts in the state of Wisconsin. Now, the laws have subsequently changed. You know, he helped get them changed. He signed his own get-out-of-jail-free card.
Now, we're coordinating with those third-party groups and taking all that money. Was that a criminal act or a civil act?
Well, that was a criminal act.
That was a criminal
When
act.
you break campaign finance laws in the state of Wisconsin, or really anywhere, because I think he also had FEC complaints, probably broke them while a federal candidate as well. But here in the state of Wisconsin, he absolutely broke criminal statutes when he was coordinating with third-party groups, in contrast to current campaign finance laws.
The preacher's kid.
Precedent set in the courts of the state of Wisconsin. So when he got out that little get-out-of-jail-free card, first from the bought and paid for Wisconsin Supreme Court, later from his Republican buddies over in the Senate and the Assembly, Dom.
Oh, yeah.
He was literally a criminal, or should have been, criminally charged and
right. You're not a criminal till you're convicted, but he was engaged in criminal behavior.
Yes. That's unarguable. I mean, they can claim First Amendment, but he was breaking laws when he was breaking them.
Come on, this is the preacher's kid, right? Jesus Christ. And I'm the atheist here, but my understanding is, love, forgiveness, all those kinds of things. Where is the outreach to those in prison?
No pardons. I mean,
zero
talk
pardons,
about forgiving the
visits.
sin.
Not only do we have zero pardons and zero visits, but we have huge liability, millions and millions of dollars paid out under this man's governance.
Well, let's not forget Act 10, his bright idea. He's the one that wrecked the workforce, closing Ethan Allen, moving juvenile offenders up to Copper Lake and Lincoln Hills.
Way up north there, hey.
That was Scott Walker's incompassionate act as well, because many of the inmates came from the Milwaukee area. And his pushing back, his, we like to keep the black people locked up in our state sort of attitude. I mean, really, he's doing that because he needs to gin up voters in Waukesha County. He's doing that for you, conservatives. He figures, well, hell, you support Donald Trump, you support me. You must be some kind of a racist, because otherwise you'd look at what the physically prudent thing to do is, and you'd push some people out of the prisons, especially the nonviolent drug offenders. And above and beyond that, I mean, setting aside the finances, I mean, for a criminal, you think he'd be a little more compassionate to those that got caught and convicted, not just those that were guilty like himself. Come back with us. Born Devil's Advocates. On the other side, you can join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
I've sentenced boys younger than you to the gas chamber. Didn't want to do it. Felt I owed it.
Having a great time.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Jeff Santos Show, kicking ass for the middle class from 12 to 3 p.m. And Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, politics and music, 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Well, you are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Ooh, I just felt a trickle down. No, I don't recall doing it.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Milwaukee County. This is Ernell Lucas. Dr. King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. It's not every day we find ourselves in situations that define our character, but I've had many. As a young police officer, I was shot in the face by an assailant, nearly making the ultimate sacrifice. I gathered the courage to return to duty because of my passion and commitment to serving and protecting our community. More recently, after the careless disregard for human life in the Milwaukee County Jail, I summoned the courage to stand up to a failed sheriff and his commanders. For over 40 years, I have stood watch over our community, keeping you safe and protecting our national pastime. On Tuesday, August 14, show your courage by standing with me to restore honor, integrity, and trust to the Sheriff's Office. I'm asking you to vote Ernell Lucas for Milwaukee County Sheriff, a leader with the courage to stand up for our community.
Paid for by Lucas for Milwaukee.
Hey folks, sexy liberal Stephanie Miller here. Most new Wisconsin jobs are in Dane County, it's true. Some of my listeners are relocating to Madison. Many already commute there. When asked where to turn for a trusted real estate team that understands Madison, I say the same thing. Solidarity Realty. They help you through the process and protect your consumer rights. They live their values, building community, promoting sustainability and diversity. Find them today at solidarityrealty.com and tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Milwaukee police are searching for a man suspected of stealing hundreds of dollars collected at a fundraiser for the family of Officer Michael Mahalski. Officer Mahalski was shot and killed last month while trying to make an arrest. The theft happened at Sobelman's on St. Paul Avenue Saturday evening when a man pried open a door to a locked office and took the cash. And Wisconsin's primary election is 1 week from today. Voters will only be able to vote for Democrats or Republicans. You must check your preference at the top of your ballot. To see what your ballot will look like, you can go to myvote.wi.gov. Outside this afternoon, mostly cloudy, a slight chance of afternoon rain, temperatures in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a slight chance of evening showers. Lows tonight in the low to mid-60s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
We want information. Who are you? The new number 2. Who is number 1? You are number 6. I am not a number. I am a free man.
Charged, never convicted. Dom and Croot are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcome back for some more Walker bashing. Double down Walker bashing Tuesday right here on the Devil's Advocates Resistance Radio.
That's what happens, Crudy, when we don't get to it yesterday. We have to spend more time, extra time, overtime the next day to catch up.
It's worth it, Dom. I'm willing to put in the extra effort. Once again, big announcement happening promptly at 4:05 today. If you're going to get some work done, you better hurry up. Go do it right now. And also in the 5 o'clock hour, James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, going to talk Mueller time, Manafort, Trump fixer Cohen, and maybe even a little obstruction of justice. Going to mix it up for you in the happy hour. But if you got some work to do right now, you're going to miss Double Down Walker Bash. And Dom, please get us started.
Let's do it. Another one we failed to get to yesterday, the Cap Times editorial entitled, Scott Walker is the most anti-education governor ever in Wisconsin.
This one, well worth the wait.
The biggest lie that any politician in America is telling in the 2018 election season is Scott Walker's claim that he is a pro-education governor. And we give high marks to State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Evers, for calling Walker out on the issue. Evers, one of 8 contenders for the Democratic nomination for governor, is closing out his primary campaign with an ad that describes Walker as what he is, the most anti-education governor the state has ever seen.
That one hurts a little because it's true.
That's not a debatable point. Walker started his governorship by attacking teachers and their unions and by cutting state support for public schools. He went on to attack the Wisconsin idea and to appoint members of the University of Wisconsin Board of Regents who advanced a wrong-headed merger scheme that will undermine the state's vital system of 2-year and 4-year university campuses. Walker, a career politician who has a long record of bashing public education, is trying to remake his image as he seeks the 3rd term as governor. Part of that remake involves a shameless attempt to suggest that he has an interest in students and teachers, urban and rural schools, and the UW system.
Well, Dominic, Devil's Advocates, we have a long history and record of Walker bashing I continue gleefully. But no one should fall for this fantasy. Walker is running for re-election because his presidential ambitions were thwarted at the start of 2016. Technically, guys, he didn't make it that long.
Right.
Out by September of 2015.
90 grand a day. What a party, though.
When Republicans from other states recognized what a lousy manager the governor was. Donald Trump ripped into Walker during the campaign, saying that under his rival's attempt at leadership, and here's a quote, you might have heard it before, I think the good people from the People for People Corporation, I think they've used and utilized this fine quote in some of their messaging. Here it is. Wisconsin's doing terribly. It's in turmoil. The roads are a disaster because they don't have any money to rebuild them. They're borrowing money like crazy. They projected a $1 billion surplus, and it turns out to be a deficit of $2.2 billion. The schools are a disaster. As the Cap Times editorial board writes, Dom, we do not agree often with Trump, but he was right about Walker. And nothing has changed. That's why the state desperately needs a governor who will be a genuine pro-education governor. We think that a number of the candidates could meet that standard, and we are not making an endorsement in next Tuesday's Democratic primary race. But we give Evers credit for using his bully pulpit as superintendent of public instruction and as a gubernatorial contender to counter Walker's campaign season lies with the truth. Scott Walker has been and remains the most anti-education governor this state has ever seen. So writes the Cap Times editorial.
Yay, what a finely written piece and so very accurate. I agree, Crudy. We had some sound, and we're going to do some Paul Ryan bashing today as well.
Ooh, Paul Ryan bashing. Yeah. He's also deserving.
And this one might be a bridge, but I want to stay on Walker just a little bit. Cut 6, Fancy Brian, when you get to it. Walker on Paul Ryan. Now, this is when Walker was still running for president, and in some ways it refers to this specific education discussion.
Was it the shadow campaign when he was running and raising money in an illegal fashion, at least according to FEC guidelines? Or was it after he declared his candidacy, you know, when he had the Russian spy at his little launch party in Waukesha, and then 71 days later flamed out and imploded in a pile of debt? Which time frame are we talking about?
I don't have the date, but I'm thinking, you know, my memory, Crudy, it was when Butina was by his side, when he actually declared. And doesn't his campaign still exist?
Our American Revival? The 527B that's still fundraising, perhaps for legal defense, or maybe he's just gearing up for another rundown.
Let's hear about Walker, what he said about unions pertains to this. Cut 6, please, Brian.
I'd like to tell my friend Paul Ryan, who grew up down the road from me, that for he and the others in his conference and those in the Senate now, they owe their majorities to us in the states because we sucked up all the union money in America. I'm only half joking about that, by the way, and I think I got most of it in my state.
Yeah, what was it? Was it about Fiscal Prudence Act 10? No, it was about kneecapping his political rivals.
You know, those big government union bosses.
Yes, the teachers. I mean, that's really what it was, and he bragged about it. So he brags, while he's running for president, brags about busting the unions in the state of Wisconsin. You know, the education union, big part of that. And then now today is out saying he's America's education governor.
Well, if he's...
We're going to deal with collective bargaining for all public employee unions, because you divide and conquer.
Yeah, he is just such a team builder there, bringing people together. You know, the divide and conquer governor.
Well, it doesn't bumper sticker as well during the re-elective campaign. Works well in Waukesha County little, you know, Republican confabs, but not so well, Dom, apparently, as the moderate. I mean, he's running as a moderate now, right? Scott Walker, suddenly he's a moderate. We're all convinced, right? He's the education governor. Yeah. And while he sees no value in visiting the $2.6 billion that we spend on the correction system, you know, setting aside any calls for compassion, pardons, or humanity in the prison systems, especially not the juveniles, Tom.
No, to me, there's no value in visiting.
There's no value.
No value. The kids,
There's no value in those human lives.
Zero value. Not in the human lives, not in the corrections workers. There is zero value. There is no value for Governor Walker to give a damn about what is going on in our Wisconsin prisons.
They're not writing him the checks. The private prison industry, the CCA, writes the checks, Tom. And Betsy DeVos's outfit, they write the checks. And Scott Walker has been the education governor, at least if you mean a school choice education governor. I think he's done just fine by American Federation of Children. I think they've donated something to the tune of $5 million to support his candidacy. You know, the Scott Jensen, Betsy DeVos outfit.
Oh, yeah.
They're his big backers.
844-967-2789. Let's get to a couple callers. Wisco Paul, you're up. Thanks for calling, man. What do you think?
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Scott Hole, where I stand with him with the roads, but the commercial you guys said where Scott Hole went along with a guy calling union members bastards, that totally ticks me off. And he could suck lemons for that one. It really works me up. I'm a union man, and I don't really like being called a bastard. That's about as low as it could go. And it's a slap in the face to people like me. So,
but that was the whole point.
Scott Hole.
It was to make...
What whole point?
Well, it was Scott Walker's entire point during the dividing and conquering of the Wisconsin electorate. If he could make your neighbors resent you, then there'd be a greater opportunity for him to divide us. He wins 50+1, and then he governs like he's got some sort of massive mandate from the Koch brothers.
Now, that's the preacher kid talking like that. Well, I'll tell you what, Scott Hole, your roads are taking you down because these roads suck. And the more people talk about these roads, the more they hate him. Because this is I'm out of here today because I'm on a rant.
Paul, I was up near Stevens Point dropping a kid at camp just the other day. Didn't meet our friend Joe from Stevens Point, our newer friend Joe. Look forward to his call later in the show, perhaps. 844-967-2789. But, Paul, you'd be very proud of the big, massive Scott Hole sign on the side of the road. I love seeing the big sign, suck lemon Scott Walker sign effectively.
Thank you for the call. Paul, you can join us 844-967-2789.
You mean Stevens Point Joe?
Stevens Point Joe?
Yeah, Wisco Paul already joined us.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm here to straighten it all out. You get so confused.
Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you, Mike.
What did Scott Walker, when he was running as a presidential candidate, what was his claim to fame? Never graduated college.
No. Let's see.
What was his biggest life accomplishment that he used to brag about?
It wasn't his success in the private sector. It wasn't.
That certainly wasn't it.
Let's see. I got it.
What?
He's an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, that was his claim to fame, right? He played that one. He talked.
I'm an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, there it was. I'm an Eagle Scout. Bragged about it effectively, Dom.
He ran for president bragging he was an Eagle Scout. Like, this was what qualified him to run for president.
And that is what qualified us to commission a